Stand by. 5, 4, 3.
Hello, my name is Sam from Winged, and I'm here today in the home of Alyssa Spaxman, a globetrotter whose jewelry helps women get in touch with their inner gypsy. Welcome, Alyssa.
Thank you.
So tell me, how did Strut Jewelry begin?
So I began the business in 2009. I had been working some other jobs that weren't really in the creative field that I wasn't super passionate about. And I've always been really passionate about making jewelry. I've made jewelry for as long as I can remember in various forms. And I decided that I would try to turn this love of making jewelry into an actual business.
Okay, wow. So what did you study in university? I believe it was graphic design. Does that have any influence on your jewelry?
It does, absolutely. I think where it affects the most is being able to design pieces that are clean and simple and eye-catching. I think there's a lot of jewelry out there, and I think what makes my jewelry stand out is probably that design aspect, I'd like to think anyway.
And what about the materials? You travel abroad quite a bit, so is that where you get most of your materials? That also helps it stand out, I'm sure.
I do work with different suppliers from around the world to get my materials, and I gather a lot of inspiration from my travels, for sure. I'm a very visual person, being an artist, so I love to collect things from when I've traveled, and those definitely influence my vision for my pieces, and it's super exciting.
Okay, wow. So what is your favorite material to work with?
I really love the silversmithing. I love working with precious metals, and I love turning something into something else. So I love turning raw materials into something that's beautiful, and that's part of what really attracts me to the jewelry process is being able to take a raw material like a sheet of metal and actually form it into something that's wearable and someone's going to love for their lifetime. It's really awesome.
When did you start learning how to create jewelry? When did you start the actual process of smithing, etc.?
The actual process of smithing, I took a class about 10 years ago, actually, from a local jeweler. And that really sort of ignited a love of the smithing process in me. And I've sort of dabbled in that on my own. I'm largely self-taught in terms of silversmithing. And I've always made jewelry. I think I started making jewelry when I was about 13 years old. I used to go down to the Byward Market. There was a jewelry store there called the Sassy Bead Company.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and I learned a few techniques as well from the people that worked there. And sort of the fusion of those two styles of jewelry, I think, is what sort of the collection is today.
And you're set up in your home to create your jewelry, correct?
I am, yeah. So I'm lucky in that the way that I work, I don't need a lot of space. So I do have an extra room in my home that I work out of. So I have it set up with a table and a what's called a jeweler's bench as well. And that's where I do a lot of the sawing and the texturing of the metal. All of the assembly of the final pieces is done there. I have all of my stones and metal and chain and everything in that space. Yeah.
Do you find it difficult to integrate your home and work life together in the same space?
It is, for sure. Yeah, I'm lucky actually to have the space has a door. So when I'm done for the day, I sort of close up shop. But having your own business it's tough. It's not for everybody. It's something that you're always thinking about, even when you're not actually physically doing the work. So even in my downtime, I'm always like on social media or checking the website, or there's always tons of stuff that needs to be done. So yeah, it is hard, but there's lots of benefits to it as well. So I wouldn't be able to work another way. I love doing it.
What is the most rewarding thing about owning your own business?
I think the most rewarding thing for me is being able to see my work on somebody, see it on the perfect person. There's certain pieces that just fit with somebody, and you can tell as soon as they put it on, and that's the most exciting thing for me, is that face-to-face interaction with people and being able to see women just sort of light up. That's what I love.
So do you have any special occasions that you've ever created jewelry for? Any special stories that you'd like to share?
Absolutely. I really love, I do a lot of custom work with brides, and that's super rewarding to be able to see pictures of the jewelry on their bridesmaids after the fact, or pictures of the bride actually wearing the piece that I've created. It's very rewarding.
So you often wear your own jewelry as well. Do you find a lot of people remark upon it when you go out?
I do actually. Yeah, the other day I had a clerk in a store actually was looking at my earrings and ended up purchasing them after the fact online. And that's always super exciting to be able to say, oh, I actually made those. And then to see on somebody's face, oh my gosh, that's really cool.
That's fantastic. So you do deal with a lot of social media. How do you find that impacts the company itself? You said you spend a lot of time on it. How do you manage that?
I do. I manage all of that on my own. So I've recently sort of realized that I need to sort of focus on one of the social media channels. So I've been working a lot on Instagram, which is really cool. And that's actually how Winged and I connected, which is awesome. And it's interesting because you get to see reactions to new products, and you get to have a customer to like maker interaction that you don't actually have to be in person for. So that's really cool. And being artistic as well, it's another way to sort of flex those creative muscles. And I love to do different sort of arrangements for the jewelry and take photos, and that's kind of fun as well. It sort of uses a different part of my brain.
It must be an easy way to find a community as well through social media. So what's the jewelry community like?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of jewelry lovers on social media for sure. And people love to see new stuff, and it's really exciting.
What about the creation community in itself? So people who also do silversmithing, etc. You do a lot of craft fairs and artist fairs. How do you find that community? Very receptive?
Absolutely, yeah. The community has grown in the past, 6 years that I've been in business in Ottawa as well. So it's been really cool to sort of be there. I wouldn't say at the beginning, but sort of in sort of that growth period of the handmade community in Ottawa. I think that there's a lot of online platforms that have been sort of instrumental in helping people create their own handmade businesses and actually make them work. And there's a lot of shows in the area that didn't used to happen that are now happening. And I think that people are really looking for something that will differentiate them in terms of their style. I think there's so much of the same stuff sort of over and over again. And I think that that's why people are really turning towards handmade. And that's a really cool thing to see. And Ottawa as a whole is very supportive of the handmade artisan community. Yeah, it's amazing.
Great to hear.
Yeah.
If you could describe your business or your creations in 3 words, you can pick either. What would you pick?
I would say my creations are very eclectic, modern, and easy. I'd say they're easy to wear. Yeah.
Okay, that's fantastic. Do you think your identity as a Canadian plays into your art at all?
I think where my identity as a Canadian comes into play is the fact that I love to travel. And obviously the world is open to us as Canadians. Not everybody has that luxury and that good fortune. And since I love to travel and do gain a lot of my inspiration from those travels, definitely think that, it's a lucky thing.
Do you have any influencers in the jewelry or the fashion beauty world?
I love to look at other brands and see what they're doing. I love to look and see at brands that I would love to be as big as, and that's kind of a fun thing to do. And I love to look at what people locally are doing too. That's exciting. There's such a cool jewelry community in Ottawa that, and we all know each other, so that's really supportive.
What's your biggest challenge running your own company?
I think the biggest challenge is, I think that sort of work and life separation that we were sort of touching on before, that's definitely a challenge. And it's hard to not sort of get consumed by your business. It's always something you have to sort of keep in mind, is being able to sort of have a life outside of your business, because jewelry and making things is my passion and always has been. It is difficult sometimes to have that separation, for sure.
What has the reaction been like from your friends and your family when you told them you were starting your own business into jewelry making?
Yeah, I think everybody, I've always had a very supportive family. I come from a rather artistic family as well. So they were always very supportive of me. There's been times for sure where it's been like a little bit of a rocky month and I've been like, you know what, I may need to borrow a little bit of money. But, they've always been super supportive. And I think when you see somebody that you love and they're happy doing what they're doing, I think that's the most important thing for sure.
What are you looking for in the future for the growth of Strut Jewelry?
Yeah, so I'd like to see, I'd like to get some more stores on board that carry my work. I'd like to grow my online business as well. I think there's a challenge for being a solo, entrepreneur in this type of field where you're always reliant on whether or not you can get into shows or you can't get into shows or what scheduling is like. And it would be nice to have the online portion of the business grow, because that's something that I have a little bit more control over. And I recently actually brought a production assistant on board, so that's been super awesome. So I'd like to grow in that way as well and sort of be able to be at a point where I can hand off some of the things that I don't necessarily love doing as much to somebody else.
So you'd see yourself growing with demand. Is it difficult to keep up with demand now?
It can be sometimes, especially when we start to hit market season and Christmas time. So it's always a bit of a learning experience as well. Every year I kind of take a look back at the year before and go, what worked, what didn't work, what would I like to do differently this year? So this year there's a little bit more focus for me on being a little bit more organized earlier in the year. There were times last Christmas where between shows at night I was busy making stuff, so that's stressful. It's too stressful during, the holiday period anyway. So that's something that has been a big focus for this year as well, is being a little bit more organized.
So you mentioned a lot of online work. You must have a website, Alyssa?
I do, for sure. Yeah, it's strutjewelry.com. So you can check out a lot of my pieces online, and you can also see where I'm going to be next. So lots of the shows that I do are listed online as well. And from May to October, every Sunday, I'm at the Ottawa Farmers Market at Lansdowne Park.
Okay, thank you very much for doing this interview, Alyssa. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us. In the meantime, please check out our website at www.wing.ca.